So this is the field of battle. We've got a 5 foot by 6 foot table. We're going to be playing a hammer and anvil deployment. The Dark Eldar won the roll off to decide who would go first, and have taken this side over here on the left, and the Eldar will be going over here. There are 4 objectives in, I think it's Emperor's Will is the game deployment type, and one objective is over here on this hill. One objective is right in the centre in this Chaos Shrine. Another objective over on this hill, and finally another objective over on the trees on the near side. In terms of warlord traits, the Dark Eldar guy's got hatred, and the Eldar warlord has got ambush of blades, which gives them rerolls of 1, and any unit within 12 inches rerolls of 1 once per game. I think only in assault. Not the best. Right, so here's the battlefield with all the forces on it. The Dark Eldar won the roll off to deploy first, so we'll begin with them. So moving from the right to the left, we've got 2 fast attack venoms, they're empty, and 2 ravagers in cover behind the trees and behind the venoms. We've got 2 units of reavers, each with 2 blasters, and 2 cluster caltrops in them, one out in the open up front there. In these rocks, which we're counting as being 5 up cover, we've got a unit of Truebone up front with 2 Dark Lancers, and a unit of just 5 Cabalites, nothing special about them, at the back. We've got a Ravager and a unit of 10 Incubi and a Raider with enhanced Ether Sails, and they're sheltering behind a Venom. Again, sheltering behind another fast attack Venom on the left hand side is another unit of Incubi and another Ravager. This one's got the Warlord in it. So, deployed quite far forward, clearly going to go on the offensive. In reserve are a unit of Hellions who will be coming in through Deep Strike, 2 units of Scourgers will be coming in through Deep Strike, 2 units of Blaster Bone with Archons who will be coming in through Webway portals, 4 units of Cabalites will be coming in through Deep Strike, and 2 Razor Wings. So an awful lot to come on. So here's the Eldar deployment. They've taken a different tactic. They've decided to put most of their stuff on the board, very little in reserve. So again, we'll work right to left. So we've got a Wave Serpent with 5 Dire Avengers in it, 10 Dire Avengers. Another Wave Serpent with another 5 Dire Avengers in it. Unit 3 Jet Bikes with an Autarch. He's got a Fusion Blaster and a Power Sword. Night Spinner. 2 units of Guardians, each with Bright Lancers, and there's a Farseer in there. You've got another Wave Serpent with another 5 Dire Avengers. Falcon with another 5 Dire Avengers. A Wraith Knight with a Sun Cannon variant. 2 Fire Prisms. Across the front here we have 3 War Walkers. Each of these has a Scatter Laser and a Bright Lance. At the very back here we've got a Farseer and a unit of 3 Jet Bikes. And up on the hill we've got another unit of Guardians, again with a Bright Lance. Behind them is a Wave Serpent that's got Wraith Gods in with D-Sives, so they should be pretty nasty. Right in the far corner, another Wraith Knight, again Sun Cannon. And in front of him is 2 Vipers, which is fully kitted out with Shuriken cannons. Who have I missed? Oh, inside the Wraith Guard Wave Serpent there is another Seer, a Spirit Seer. So, if we look at the powers we've got, the Farseer that's just on foot has got Doom, Guide, Death Mission and Executioner, which is pretty underwhelming. I think there's only really going to be Guide that's going to get much use there. The guy that's on the jet bike has got Telepathy, so he's got Psychic Shriek. Dominate, meh. Invisibility, very cool. And Mental Fortitude, again, meh. And the Spirit Seer has got Embolden and Horrify, so that's not that good. Empower and Innovate, again, not that good. And Conceal Reveal. So, not brilliant choices for the psychic powers for the Eldar there. That could hurt them a little bit because they've got A lot of points invested in these guys. But invisibility is there, invisibility is nasty. So it's the end of Dark Eldar turn 1. The Eldar chose not to try and seize initiative. Makes absolute sense. They're deployed at the back of the board. They couldn't have done much shooting anyway. Far better to let the Dark Eldar do what they were going to do, which is assault forward. They've jumped right the way forward with a lot of their units. So most ambitious is this Reaver unit here, which is shot at the right flank, going flat out. But that's been followed by the 2 Incubi units, which again have gone flat out using enhanced ether sails. So they've gone 36 inches. They were right the way over there, but they thought better of taking on the Wraith Guard at the back there beside that objective, because the D size would just messed them up. AP2 flamethrowers are not good in an open top vehicle. And instead they've jumped over here. There's not actually any objective to go after, but there's plenty of infantry to get stuck into. So at least it can cause some damage. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with all the incoming fire that's going to hit them next turn. They're supported by another unit of Reaver jet bikes which have shot forward to there. In terms of shooting, Dark Eldar were really ineffective. The 2 Ravagers on the right hand side managed to make 2 of the Wave Serpents there and there jink. That's the green icons denote jinking. And the 2 Venoms here managed to cause 6 casualties on the Guardian unit at the front there, which held, and the Bright Lance is still intact. So unfortunately that's still going to be a threat, no first blood. Over on this side, the Ravagers again did nothing. Shot at the Wave Serpent at the back there, which didn't even jink, it was in good cover. And shot at one of the Vipers and completely missed, double ones. What did work well was that Venom at the front there. He shot at the Wraith Knight at the very, very back, caused 2 wounds. Poison weapons and Wraith Knights do not mix. So that was a good effort. Despite him being right the way back there, he was just in range. Should have been positioned 2 inches back and he'd have been safe. This Venom here in the centre shot at the Farsayers unit at the back there, managed to kill one of them. Not enough to, well, it was enough to make them do a test, but they didn't run away, which is a pity because they're right on the board edge and they'd have been lost. And that would have been first blood. My guess is first blood's going to come in Eldar turn 1. There's a lot of firepower arrayed against the Dark Eldar there. They're in a pretty exposed position, there's not a lot of them. So somebody is going to die soon. Right then, end of Eldar turn 1. As you can see, it's been a pretty effective turn. There's a lot of smoke going up across the Dark Eldar line. So let's take you through it unit by unit. So on the right flank over here, this Wave Serpent has moved forward. The Dire Avengers inside have all got out, rushed forward and shot at the Reaver unit that's in front. They've been joined with fire from the Wave Serpent and from the 4 remaining Guardians from this squad over here. As you can see, the Reaver unit's lost 5 of its members. The last guy is holding on, but that unit is pretty much combat ineffective now. The other Guardians over here have been joined by Dire Avengers out of this Wave Serpent and the Wave Serpent in firing at this Raider here, which had the Incubi in it. So they knocked that out. The Incubi bailed out, weren't pinned. The Night Spinner over here managed, completely missed with its pie plate. It went about 8 inches off. But the Wraith Knight behind laid into them with a sun cannon and killed 5 of the guys. Again, they made their morale check, but that unit's at half strength. This Raider behind has been knocked out by fire from the Falcon and the Walkers over there. I don't think anybody else participated in that. That was again knocked out, exploded actually, but all 10 guys inside managed to survive unscathed thanks to 3 up Incubi armour, which is pretty good. The Reavers in the centre here have taken 2 casualties, not from the 2 pie plates that came from the fire prison. They did nothing surprisingly, but from the Wave Serpent firing at them from the hill over there. The Guardians behind the Wave Serpent fired 1 shot at this Venom and blew it up, clean out. So that's pretty good going from the Guardians. And the two Vipers that shot forward over on this left flank let 12 shuriken cannon shots go into this venom that's, you can just see behind this smoke here, and knock that out as well. So 2 of the venoms dead. And what else happened? The Wraith Knight over here fired his sun cannon. He was out of range for his scatter laser. He fired his sun cannon at the Ravager over here and put 1 hull point on him. That was it. So, not disastrous for the Dark Eldar, but a lot of casualties, and this attack here has really been blunted. And the general's got a really difficult position, got himself into a really difficult position. He could easily be shot down trudging forward towards the enemy. So it's going to make all the difference now is the Dark Eldar reserves. If they all come in, turn 2, and manage to deep strike into good positions, then potentially they could do some serious damage. But if they don't, then the Eldar have really got the advantage in terms of weight of firepower, and they've got the initiative in terms of they've started the casualties going first. So it looks like it could very easily go their way. Obviously the Eldar now have first blood. Okay, so end of Dark Eldar turn 2, and everything's got pretty messy. A lot of the reserves have come on. They've intermingled in with the Eldar lines, and the fight has got very chaotic. So we'll try and make sense of it. The 2 Archons with Blaster Bone have deep struck with precision into the very rear of the Eldar lines. This boatload here tried to do an assassination on the Eldar warlord, shooting 8 splinter shots and 5 blaster shots into him, which he survived without any problem at all, so that was a waste. The other one over here fired into this Wave Serpent and put 2 hull points on it. Basically it was saved by its shield. Well, actually, because they were from the rear, probably shouldn't have, so that's probably a mistake on our part. And it's jinking as well. This Night Spinner over here is jinking. It's not jinking, sorry, but it has had a weapon destroyed. It's lost its shuriken catapult, and it's taken 2 hull points. One of them from the lance on the raider here, and another one from the lance on the Cableite raider here, which deep struck in. So that was supposed to be right the way over here, but it's scattered practically on top of this unit of Guardians. The occupants of this raider and that raider as well, both of them deep striking in, fired across at what used to be a Wraith Knight over here, and the poison killed him. That was in conjunction with a unit of Scourgers armed with splinter carbines, who also emptied their shots into him. So 5 wounds in 1 phase, which is pretty good. Another unit of Scourgers deep struck here. They're the ones with the haywire blasters, and they took out one of the walkers. The other walker took damage, and I think that was off this Ravager back here. So the other units are coming from deep strike. This Razor Wing came in. He shot 2 missiles and 2 lancers at this Wave Serpent, causing it to jink, not causing any damage, but killing 6 of the Guardians beside him. Got something like 18 hits on those Guardians. 16 hits, sorry, which caused 6 deaths. So not too bad. The 2 Venoms here cleared out the unit of 4 Guardians that were there, and the Incubi that were left from this first raider charged forward and got stuck into these Guardians here. They lost 1 to Overwatch and 1 in combat actually. Guardian managed to clobber one of them. So that was pretty good going for the Guardians, but the Guardians lost the combat, 3 of them are dead. But they've held, which is probably just quite useful for the Incubi because they don't want to be standing out there ready to be shot. The General's mob have moved up behind this unit, for this dead raider, for cover. This Reaver shot at the Wave Serpent and then attempted to charge and roll double ones. That was a bit disappointing. This Ravager shot at this Wave Serpent over here, caused him to jink and put 1 hull point on him. These Reavers also shot at him, did nothing, and then also failed their charge as well. It's a pity because they're loaded with cluster caltrops and that could have been quite useful. this Ravager here completely whiffed. He didn't do anything. So the Dark Lance armed Trueborn that were at the back, I've sent them forward. And also deep striking in with some Hellions who mishapped. They were supposed to come in over this side of the board, went off the table edge, and we rolled the one where the opponent gets to deploy it, and sneakily the Eldar have put them right at the back here. So I don't think they're going to play much of a part in the game at all. I think that's most of the action. This Ravager here shot at and caused a jink on this Viper over here, but didn't do any damage. So this side is pretty unaffected so far in terms of the Eldar. So it's come back a little bit for the Dark Eldar, but the Eldar line is still unbroken, and they've got their reserves to come on now, hopefully as well. So end of Eldar turn 2. Started with disappointing reserve rolls, only one unit of 3 jet bikes coming on. Warp Spiders and the Crimson Hunter both stayed in reserve, which left much needed firepower off the board. That said, the Eldar have had some pretty good results. So over on this side, this Wave Serpent's popped forward and taken a gun off one of these Venoms. And these Dire Avengers shot down the Reaver, lone Reaver that was there, and have fanned out to block an assault by these Incubi. These Guardians got out of this Wave Serpent and completely failed to wound those Incubi. This Wave Serpent fired at the Raider over there, hit it with loads of 6s because it was jinking, and took it down to 1 hull point. Then the Warlord fired at it and then eventually had to charge it and hit it with a haywire grenade to knock it out. So the occupants are out there, have to test to see if they're pinned or not, but that Warlord's looking in a pretty vulnerable position if they're not. Over here the Night Spinner flipped its gun onto template mode and templated this unit in the Raider at the back, the Blasterborn, killed 5 of them. The Raider itself was untouched, but 5 of the occupants were killed under the no escape rule, 3 of which were the blasters, so that's really reduced the effectiveness of that unit a great deal. Over here, the Farseer cast Death Mission on himself and Doom on the opposing Incubi. He then went absolutely nuts on the Incubi and killed them both himself before anybody else had a chance to strike a blow. Over here we managed to get 1 hull point on the Raider and 2 hull points on this Raider, and I believe it's also shaken, and that's from a combination of fire from this Wave Serpent and this Falcon here. The Dire Avengers go at the back of the Falcon and they fired at the Reaver jet bikes that were here. The Reaver jet bikes also got fire from the Walkers and a stray shot from a Sun Cannon, so they were pretty unlucky there and they got wiped out. Both the units of Scourges were wiped out, one to sustain Sun Cannon fire, which is pretty inevitable, and the other one to fire from the 2 units of jet bikes, one of which came in from reserve, and also from the Guardians which were beginning to descend from the hill. This Wave Serpent here fired across and immobilized this Ravager over here. Over on this side, the 2 Vipers fired at the Ravager at the back here and caused him to jink, but didn't do any damage. And the Fire Prisms didn't have much of a go actually. They managed to do nothing. I can't say what they did. They definitely fired, but I don't think they actually killed anybody. It's a bit disappointing. But not a bad turn for the Eldar. Once again, that Sun Cannon being the absolutely lethal weapon in their armoury. But honourable mention goes to the Night Spinner for destroying much of the crew of that Blasterborn Raider over there. Difficult to say which way it's going to go now. There's still a lot of Dark Eldar equipment on the table, and there's still a lot of Eldar with some coming from reserves. So come back to you after Dark Eldar turn 3. Right, so end of Dark Eldar turn 3, been a very effective turn for the Dark Eldar, as you can tell by all the smoke that's been added. I'll just take you bit by bit through the board as there's a lot going on, be easy to get lost. So in the backfield, these Hellions, which were placed right the way back at the edge, have moved forward and are just surrounding this objective and controlling that. These Cableites are holding here in the centre to see where they're going to be needed. There's warp spiders that could be dropping in, and might need somebody to go and try and clear an objective. These Truebone that were moving forward towards this object on the left have stopped and fired the Wave Serpent over here that has the Wraith Guard in, and they managed to immobilise it, which was pretty good going. So 1 hull point in immobilisation. Lots of other shooting went against it, but completely ineffective. Over here, this guy did nothing, he was snap firing. But over on this side, unit of Cableite deep struck in. The Raider fired at the Viper there and destroyed it. And the crew fired at the Wraith Knight at the very back there, managed to put 2 wounds on it. So that Wraith Knight was supposed to be invisible, but the seer who was casting it miscast, used his runes of witnessing to reroll and failed the reroll. So he wasn't miscast, but no invisibility, which left him vulnerable. So it seems a shame not to put two wounds on him. The other deep striker came in here. He's supposed to be much further forward, but he drifted backwards. He wiped out a unit of jet bikes that were in the open in front of him, and the Raider main gun put a shot on that fire prism at the back and put a hull point on it, which is pretty good. This Razor Wing changed course and moved towards the now defunct walkers in the centre, shot 2 missiles and 2 lances at them. The missiles also managed to clip the Dire Avengers, and you can just see them there in the centre, and kill 2 of those as well. So this guy did jack, he completely missed. This guy here put 1 hull point on that Wave Serpent in the centre there, which has turned away from us. Right, over here there was a hell of a fight. So the Incubi did a multi-charge on a Dire Avenger unit and on this Wave Serpent. They had furious charge because it's turn 3 and there were homunculi with them, and so many attacks hitting both units basically wiped them straight out. The Dire Avengers put a challenge out to my general, who, of course, being a Dark Eldar and a coward, refused and sat it out. His hatred came in quite helpful here as well, so it meant that we were even more effective. The Farseer's unit, which was here, got killed by shooting, so the 2 Venoms put a load of hits into them. But what really did for them was this Raider full of Cableite with Splinter Axe. 20 shots hit, I think, in the end, and that pretty much wiped that unit out. Well, did wipe that unit out. This unit here wasn't as effective. Managed to fire at that Falcon and put a hit on the Falcon, but the crew only managed to take out, I think it was 1 jet bike. Over in this back corner, the enemy general was there, rather bravely taking the fight to us, which was probably a bit daft, but he got killed by shooting from these blaster bone. They were ready for a charge, but they won't get to do that now. And this unit of blaster bone got out of their vehicle with a plan of shooting this Night Spinner and then slapping some haywire grenades on him in assault, but the shooting did it. A bit too effectively because it blew up and killed all but the Archon. So that is quite unfortunate, but at least the Night Spinner is dead and can't be using that torrent fire anymore on my open top vehicles. So end of Eldar turn 3, and it hasn't been an amazing turn for the Eldar. In terms of reserves, they got all their final reserves on. So over here, the Warp Spiders deep struck in to threaten this objective in the Dark Eldar rear. They shot the unit of Truebone with the Dark Lancers here and destroyed them, and then spread themselves out. So they're still threatened by this unit of Cableite warriors. And there's a Ravager over here which is jinking. It is undamaged after being shot at by the Wraith Knight, but it made an awful lot of jink saves. The Viper over here shot at this Ravager and put 1 hull point on it. He elected not to jink. Over here, the Wraith God got out the immobilised Wave Serpent, and it's always bad when your opponent asks for more dice. I think he scored over 20 hits with no escape on the crew and killed all but one of them. The Raider itself is undamaged, but it's practically empty now, so it's not going to be that effective. The Guardians moved and ran forward and emptied into this Raider here, which jinked it away. Both of the Fire Prisms fired at it, jinked that away, and over here the Falcon fired at it, and he jinked that away as well. So he just had an amazing run of dice, wasn't hurt at all. So the crew there able to fire normally. Crimson Hunter came on and engaged the Razorwing. Razorwing jinked, but took a immobilised result, didn't crash and burn. It's now stunned, so it's lost a hull point. Over here, the Wave Serpent rammed this Raider and then shot it and finally knocked it out. The crew are out, and we need to test to see if they're pinned. That hasn't happened yet. Over on this side, this Wave Serpent moved from here and rammed into this Raider and managed to knock out its gun. And then shot at it, didn't do anything else, it elected to jink after that point. No point when it hasn't got a gun anymore. So not too bad a tactic actually ramming these guys. It seems to be quite effective. It doesn't really hurt the Wave Serpent, so why not? These Dire Avengers shot at the Truebone in the corner here, killed 2 of them. They've got to take a leadership test, again that hasn't been done yet. These Dire Avengers shot at the Incubi and did nothing. So it'd be interesting to see if the Incubi decide to charge those and wipe those guys out. Not much point though, because they're not in a very tactically interesting position. There's no objectives around here, there's nothing to fight for. So they may choose to go somewhere else. And that is it. I don't think they'd managed to do anything else. Which, considering the actual reduced number of Eldar on the board, isn't that surprising now. There's not a massive tactical presence of Eldar. They had a shockingly bad psychic phase, so failed to get invisibility off with 6 dice onto the Wraith Knight, which means he's going to be susceptible to poison. And the only thing they did manage to do is make the Guardians fearless, which, let's face it, isn't that exciting. So considering all the points have sunk into the psychic phase, the Eldar just haven't had much of a return on that at all this game. So end of Dark Eldar turn 4. They've had some successes, but it hasn't all gone their way this turn, so it's still open. The final reserve came on, this flyer over here. He zoomed across and shot 4 missiles into these warp spiders, killing 7 of them. And then fire from these Cabalites killed another 1, but they've held, so they're still a threat. Over on this side, this Ravager decided to ram this Viper over here, injuring himself in the process and not doing anything to the Viper. He then failed to hit it, and this guy also fired at it, causing it to jink, but again no damage at all. This Raider here managed to put 1 shot onto the Wraith Knight, so he's now down to his last wound, and the Psyker failed to get invisibility off him again last turn, so he's still vulnerable, but he's still alive. So over here we managed to get 2 kills on the Wraith Guard. So in terms of the units that shot at them, this unit here inside this Raider with Splinter Racks shot at them, got about 20 hits, and their armor saves just absorbed them all, didn't do a thing. It was actually venom shots coming from these 2 Venoms over here that killed 2 of them. So obviously they're fearless, so they won't run away. The Guardians here were shot at from this Raider, and their Brightlands platform took all the shots, and again armor saves made all the way across, so brilliant rolling there. And that did nothing. So it was actually shots from this group on the ground that killed a few of them. I think 3 of them died in total, but again they held their ground. The fly that was here decided to fly off. He was jinking anyway, so probably wasn't going to hit anything. All the Ravagers in the background here failed to do anything. Didn't manage to hit any of the targets, or didn't manage to pen them. The Eldar player chose not to jink, so these fire prisons, which received most of the fire, will still be up and firing at normal ballistic scale, which proved to be a very good decision. So I'll just track across this side of the board. So it was assaults that made all the difference on this side of the board. So these incubi piled into this wave serpent, exploding it, and 2 of them were killed in the explosion. A bit too effective, got 6 explode results on it. Over here, this Archon charged a unit of 5 Dire Avengers that were in these rocks. Took 2 wounds on the way in through Overwatch, but then killed them all but one, who he ran down at the end of the combat. And these guys charged the back of this wave serpent and killed it with a haywire grenade. And that was it for the turn. No other damage caused. The Hellions have sat on that objective in the back, and they're not really playing a part in the game at all. So turn 4 has brought a real renaissance for the Eldar. They've surged forward into the centre ground there and started killing things left, right and centre. So the Wraith Knights had a particularly good turn. Jumped forward 12 inches, shot at that raider in front of him, largely missed and hit the Ravager beside him, killing that, and then charged into that raider and destroyed that. He got hit on Overwatch going on the way in with poison, but managed to survive that. It would have been hilarious. He'd gone down for his last run to Overwatch, but no, he was absolutely fine. He's of course invisible now as well. I'm not actually sure he can Overwatch invisible, so it's just as well he didn't die. The warp spiders there were going to target that Ravager, but the Ravager was destroyed, so instead put a shot into this Ravager, destroying one of its weapons. The Wraith Guard here used their D-sives to fire at the Raider here, killing only 3 of the crew with a no escape, but the Wave Serpent there finished it off. So that Raider is gone, the 7 crew are on the ground, they're not pinned. These Guardians stormed forward, they moved and ran, and then shot at this unit here, killing about 4 guys. The Falcon knocked out this Raider, and none of the occupants were killed, it was just wrecked, didn't explode. So they've all bailed out the back. The Fire Prism here has managed to stun and put a hull point on the undamaged Venom over here. Well, this Fire Prism here had a go at knocking this unit out with a large template, and largely whiffed. I think it killed about 2 guys. So that was pretty ineffective. Fire Prisms haven't been great this game. The award for completely ineffective goes to these Dire Avengers, who shot at this unit that was out, this unit of Trueborn in the open, and didn't do a single casualty to them. The Crimson Hunter got 4 pens on the aircraft of the Dark Eldar over here, but that jinked them all away. But it is jinking, so that's a small win. So not a bad turn for the Eldar. They're still depleted in terms of numbers, but they've wrecked a lot of transports, and they've vastly reduced the mobility of the Dark Eldar. So if they can potentially punch through, take the objective on the hill there, continue to hold that one, and contest the centre, or even take it, then they could be in for the win. So it's the end of Dark Eldar turn 5. The Cableites that were sitting at the back here trying to work out what to do have decided to go and secure the objective over on the left here. The game ends at this point. I think they're just within 3 inches, so they should be okay. The lone survivor of this raider here decided to fire and then charge at the warp spiders, which was foolish because they killed them in Overwatch. Failed to get that last wound on the Wraith Knight over here, the invisibility defeating all the shots at him, which is unfortunate. Did manage to wipe out the Wraith Guard though. This unit of Cableite here got some very good shots on him, and poison just goes straight through that toughness 6. The fighter, which has been jinking, had a go at the spirits here in behind, but didn't manage to hit. So the Ravagers had a little bit of a better turn this time, so they got a immobilized result on this fire prism, and this fire prism's been forced to jink and has taken a hull point. The hull point actually came from this Archon over here, who failed the charge to get in to finish it off with a haywire grenade, but it's a fairly plucky effort for a single Archon. Don't fancy her chances of surviving to the next turn. In the centre here, the Guardians were wiped out. There was a lot of units to fire at them. So that unit of Cableite and that unit of Cableite both fired at them. The Venoms fired at the Wraith Guard and helped finish the job off with them. The Incubi have moved from across there and are heading into the centre to either attempt to hit that objective or potentially even make it across to here if the game goes to turn 7. But it's probably unlikely. The unit of Trueborn that were in this corner are making their way across, again trying to put some blaster shots onto the armour across here, given that they've finished killing all the armour in that corner. Bit of an odd choice tactically to go heavy into that corner, given that there's no objectives there, but it was all largely governed by the Wraith Guard, which I knew would be a horrific unit and which would just vaporise the Incubi with their AP2 flamethrowers. So that is it. Critically, that Wraith Knight is still alive, and there's still some tanks that can throw out some pie plates, but the weight of numbers is definitely with the Dark Eldar. They can swamp objectives. The only problem being Dark Eldar have the last turn and can sneak jet bikes and warp spiders onto objectives to contest. End of Eldar turn 5, and if the game had actually ended this turn, which it hasn't, the Eldar would have won. So they've taken control of this objective. The warp spiders have nipped round the corner, shot one of the Dark Eldar that were close to the objective, taking them off it, and the Crimson Hunter came behind them and shot 2 more of them. So that objective is currently in Eldar hands. In the centre, the Wraith Knight, who's invisible, has jumped forward, basically pointed his sun cannon point blank at the Cableite that were in the centre there and blasted the hell out of them. They're just gone. So he's threatening that centre objective, which isn't currently held by anybody. That Ravager is just a little bit too far away. So a bit of a mistake on the part of the Dark Eldar not have somebody on there. This objective up here is being held by the Spirit Seer and that Fire Prism, the immobilised one. Don't think Eldar players particularly bothered about the fact that that's immobilised on an objective. The Farseer's jumping forward. Pretty much the whole point of that unit at the moment is just to cast invisibility on this Wraith Knight. They're not shooting at anybody. In terms of the 2 Fire Prisms, they've located themselves on the hilltop. This one on the left had a go at one of the Venoms, didn't do anything, did cause it jink. The one in the centre fired a disperse beam at the General's unit, managed to kill 2 of them, and 2 more of the General's unit have died from the Dire Avengers behind. But everybody in the Dark Eldar side is currently fearless, so there's no need for morale tests. But it is getting whittled down as it trudges across the board on foot. And finally, the little Archon that was running across the field, the Falcon, let go of the 3 Dire Avengers who are in the back, and they shot him and killed him. So unfortunately, it's quite a brave attempt, but quite foolish really to run across there on your own. So that is it. Let's see what turn 6 brings. End of Dark Eldar turn 6, and they've finally done it. They've brought down that Wraith Knight. So these Hellions jumped out from the objective they were holding, and shot a load of poison shots at him and got a few sixes and brought him down. So that's a big threat neutralised. Over here, the Razorwing came in from ongoing reserve, shot at the warp spider on the hill and completely missed, didn't do a thing. But the two remaining Cableite that were on the ground shot one of them and killed them, and then have charged in to an assault which has resulted in no casualties. So that is effectively Dark Eldar controlled, because the Cableite are no, they're not objective secured actually, so because they're using a formation, so it's contested at the moment. What is in Dark Eldar hands is the central objective. So the Incubi managed to run move of a 6 and have moved within 3 inches of it, so we'll see if they can retain control. I've also sent a raider onto there, the one without any weapon, to just plonk it on and see if it can hold as well. What is holding this objective in the backfield is a Venom, which has turbo boosted across. So that's 3 objectives either controlled or contested by the Dark Eldar, with the remaining objective at the back still held by this Wraithseer. We had a pop at trying to destroy the fire prison from this aircraft, but he missed, and no jinx caused, so that fire prison will be effective this turn. This fire prison is jinking, and this Falcon is also jinking, but they weren't damaged this turn. And I think that is it in terms of effective control. That Viper is unfortunately still alive, so that could be a problem. It could rush in and contest that objective. So the Eldar could still be in a position that if this guy survives, they contest that objective in the centre and hold the other one, then it could be a draw. I'm not sure that they can actually get to this Venom in the back to kill him. This aircraft has Vector Dancer, but even he can't do that. So at the end of Eldar turn 6, if the game had ended now, the Eldar would have secured a draw, because they've managed to contest 2 of the objectives as well as controlling one, but it is in fact going to go on to turn 7. So the Eldar have sent a Viper across to contest this objective, and they've also committed their Farseer, the rest of his unit are dead, to contest this objective. There was a Warp Spider fighting these 2 Cableites, but he's been killed. They still very much hold this back objective, and the Spirit Seer who's on there has cast Conceal on himself, so he's shrouded. The Farseer over here tried to put invisibility on himself, but it was denied by the Dark Eldar. Not often they get to do that. They rolled 3 6s. So that's unfortunate. That could have sealed the deal for him and kept him alive no matter what. Over in the centre, there's not really any Eldar presence. They've shot a load of fire prism templates into there, and the Dire Avengers and Air vehicles have shot things in. The General's unit has proved to be incredibly resilient. I think they've only taken about 2 casualties, though the Cableites around them have taken quite a lot. And the vehicles are jinking off an awful lot of hits, so they're holding on those objectives. The Dire Avengers across here are trudging towards the central objective, but there's too few of them. They've got too far to go. Same with this group of 3 Dire Avengers over here. What has proved effective is the Crimson Hunter. He's turned and then used Vector Dancer to turn again, and then lit up that Venom that's burning in the centre there with 4 shots, which he was unable to jink away from. So all in all, not a bad strategy from the Eldar this turn. They were unfortunate that the game's continued. It'll be interesting to see if they can pull the same trick in the final turn. If that Farseer had been invisible, there's every chance he could have held, but I'm not holding out an awful lot of hopes for him. But we shall see. The Dark Eldar don't have a lot of assets that can actually reach these back objectives now. So this is the board at the end of Dark Eldar turn 7. It's starting to look a lot thinner out there. There's a lot of dead units now. One of those dead units is this Viper that was contesting this back objective. So the Hellions ran into it and inflicted 20 strength 5 hits on it, blew it up, and 3 of them died in the resulting explosion. They've run away, and they are here, just shy of the board edge. The Venom also took a glancing hit in the explosion, but managed to save it with its invulnerable save. If it hadn't been for that, there'd be nobody on this objective at all, which would have been hilarious, but not a good outcome for the Dark Eldar. Over on this side, this Raider's done a flat-out move, so they can contest the objective. The 2 Cableites that were beside the objective shot at the Farseer, managed to put a wound on him, and have then engaged them in assault. Neither side managed to actually land a decent blow on the assault, so that's ongoing. Dark Eldar have consolidated more around the central objective, so there's a ring of Cableite and a ring of Incubi around it. You can still get within 3 inches of it though, so it is contestable, which has got to be a concern. The Razor Wing flew up and destroyed one of the fire prisms there. You can see it with the smoke coming out the top. I think that was the only vehicle kill of the turn. Lots of shots were jinked away or just didn't penetrate armour. So it was a concerted effort to kill that Falcon, because that's still mobile. And we also had to go at that fire prism at the back, because that's still mobile. But they're both unaffected. And they've both chosen, the Falcon's chosen to jink, but the fire prism at the back has not. So that'll be able to put some shots in as well. So all in all, not a bad turn. The other thing to mention is this Ravager, rather than shoot, has gone up to contest the objective. So that's going to have to be dealt with, as I don't think there's any troops or objective secured units within decent distance of that objective. So let's see what happens in the final turn of the game. Right, game end, and that was a marathon. I think we played for nearly 9 hours, but the end result is a Dark Eldar victory. So the Eldar had a very sneaky manoeuvre towards the end where they sent this Crimson Hunter down. He did his Vector Dancer thing and took 4 shots into this Venom to try and knock him out this objective. Would have worked, but he made 4 saves, 4 sixes for his jink, and shrugged them all off. So that still remains in Dark Eldar hands. That's the only objective on the table that's not contested. So the centre one's contested by this Falcon. These Dire Avengers fired a volley of shots in trying to get the general, but only one of the Incubi died in the end. That was enough space created for the Falcon to get within 3 inches of the objective. Up here, this Ravager is still contesting the objective. The fire prism missed at that range, though the Spirit Seer was able to take a hull point off him with his attacks because of Armour Bane. And over here, the Farseer cast invisibility on himself and then killed those 2 Cableites, but obviously that Raider is still contesting the objective. So one objective absolutely in Dark Eldar hands. They also have Linebreaker, thanks to this unit over here and this unit. And they also have Slay the Warlord. The Eldar on the other hand have Linebreaker, thanks to the Farseer, and they also have First Blood as well. So 5-2 victory to the Dark Eldar, and it looks like a Dark Eldar victory as well. There's not an awful lot of Eldar kit left in the table. You've got 1 unit of Dire Avengers, a very badly damaged Falcon, a very badly damaged Fire Prism, and a Farseer. That's all that's left.